Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to RCI TV, and today we're bringing you something a little different in the form of Automobilista 2. The Nürburgring Nordschleife plays host to the one-off event tonight. Built in the 1920s around the village and medieval castle of Nürburg in the Eifel Mountains, 25.37 kilometers long with a whopping 170 turns and featuring more than 300 meters, that's 1,000 foot to us here in England, of elevation change. Nicknamed by Jackie Stewart famously as the Green Hell, it's seen plenty of action in the last 100 or so years. I'm John Dalton, your lead commentator. Alongside me, Phil Roberts. And behind the cameras, Jesse Lee. Welcome, everyone.
I must admit, John, I've had a bit of a jog round the track today. 25 kilometres, not really what we're used to in RCI. We're used to much shorter tracks. I think the longest one we have is Spa. I forgot how much that is. About 5 kilometres, I think Spa is over the course of a lap. So yeah, as we can see from the timing screen, Andy Boardman there, 8 minutes 20 seconds, to get round the track as we focus on Cormac and Malloy here, doing a fairly solid amount. I mean, the gap's there, 13 seconds, 7 seconds, etc. They may look long, but because, well, the gaps may look big, but because the track's it's such a long lap, like, you know, we're not dealing in temps anymore. We're dealing in full-on seconds between cars to go. Oh, that looks close for a gap in qualifying, and yeah, so. Andy Boardman leading at the minute, 7.5 seconds ahead of Toyota, and finally third place, Les Stevenson and then Tim Island, I think, in fourth place. So yeah, a few names we may recognise from Monday Champ with us tonight in rather unique. What do you say, John? Like a unique backdrop to end the year off with for Monday.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit different to what we're obviously used to, of course, being a predominant Assetto Corsa Competizione community. Dipping the toe into the AMS2 world today, and we've had a few teething issues along the way, but we are here at the moment, of course, just under 7 minutes of qualifying left. As you said there, Andy Boardman, of course, we know who he is. Monday regular and a regular at RCI. Toyota with a late sign up after work, thought they'd missed the cutoff, but of course being an AMS2 thing, sign ups a little bit different than usual. Of course, the damage in AMS2, I'm being told, isn't synced between client and server, so you may see a few cars that are a bit battered, but yeah, ignore that, they are perfectly fine. Of course, like you said, Les Stevenson, Tim Island, Cormac Malloy, we've also got Matthew Malcolm in here with us as well. We've also got GT Charity, which is Rudy Philmolter on my notes. We did have John Eraser signed up, but a few wheel deck issues has caused him not to join. Hubert Hauser as well, you might remember him from a few RCI events, quite common. Good improvement there from him, P7 over the line, 25-second improvement. The M6 looking very smashed in the front, if I do say so myself. Looks like it's got a real goofy face on from the side.
I was going to say, it looks like Scania designed it, the flat front, like a lorry or something.
Yep, I see that completely. But a few M6s in the field. I think we've got a few 720Ss as well on this one. And it's weird to see the M6 back in action, Phil. Of course, ATC, everybody representing the M4, other than maybe Martin Lawrence. So maybe this could have been one for him tonight.
Maybe, yeah, I was going to say our very Ryan Mawson as well, a very keen M6 driver. But yeah, it's nice to see the car back again. I'm not really, I've forgotten like how old I'm trying to think of the right word now, like how recent the GT3s are in this game. Like I've seen a 720S or something like that for the McLaren, so I haven't seen the newer McLaren at least in this game. But yeah, it's nice to see the M6. There's some of these more classic GT3s stomp around the track.
Yeah, I've also got the old Porsche 911 as well, rattling around with us today. So, you know, fantastic to see a little bit of old GT machinery. And then we see Toyota, I believe, just leaving the pit lane, if I'm right in saying. You will be noticing there's a few more names down the timing board than we're used to maybe for a one-off AMS2 event. And these are AI cars, so multiplayer on AMS2 does support AIs. So we've elected some GT4s and some Copa cars for some mobile chicanes, should we say, today, Phil. So if you see a slower car getting bullied by a faster car, then fear not. It's just our RCI guys having a little bit of fun here this evening in a new sim. Of course, the Cobra cars do look very slow in comparison, Phil. So it's going to be quite interesting when we get round the some of the corners in the Nordschleife, of course, especially towards the kind of latter half of the lap. The GT4 looking massive as it goes past the Cobra car, but certainly to the end of the lap, of course, the twisty sections of Wipperman and Brunchen, it's going to be super tricky to get around some of these cars.
Yeah, I was going to say those Cobra cars, like they're over 3 minutes slower than the pole time at the minute. So we're probably going to see them get. I mean, it's a long lap round here, so I'd imagine during the race they're probably going to get laps, say about 3 or 4 laps in. So yeah, we're gonna see some mobile chicanes or come across some mobile chicanes with the leaders very quickly indeed. There's a few GT4 cars I've spotted, as we saw before, the M4 GT3, for the what's this one, the Carrera GT4. I've forgotten, I haven't done GT4 in ages now. A bit embarrassing, but it's a bit of there's the McLaren as well. I forgot that there was a McLaren GT4. It's been a while since I've even done any GT4s, John. So my old knowledge of the class is betraying me a bit at the minute. But yeah, there's a fair few AIs. I think we tried to make sure there was no AIs in the top class, but a few managed to sneak in. Nothing we could have done about that, or nothing Tim could have done about that. But yeah, but yeah, should be interesting tonight. It's one of those ones where you just have to get used to it. The amount you have to remember over a lap. As we go on board here, is this Andy Boardman we're on board with? I think it is, yeah. So this looks like the BMW coming up to the carousel. It's been ages since I did any Nordschleife runs, John. You always go in the bank part of the track through there, John? Because I know there's some cars you miss them.
Yeah, normally the quicker line is, of course, using the lower kind of concreted section. Camber of the road, of course, kind of sucks the car around. It's notoriously tricky when you drop the car in and the car then dips back out, up and out of the banking to keep it out of the Armco. It's very tricky to kind of manage that one. This is through the twisty section I was talking about. There's going to be a nightmare for, of course, the GT4s and Cobra cars to navigate around, of course, through Wipperman and coming up to Brunchen and the famous, of course, YouTube corner that's also known as by many people around the world, of course, recorders, camera, car bloggers, etc. Stand on the outside of the corners for all of the wins and fails, and I'm sure we're going to have a few wins and fails here tonight. Qualifying, of course, reaching the last minute or so as we run aboard still with Andy Boardman as he comes up and over through Flansgarten. Of course, you've got the famous kind of brake section as the car dips away and turning right, of course, up the hill again. This is more elevation over the crest to the left, and then a big drop down towards the Beloff S's, of course, named after the Nordschleife lap record holder. Of course, still stands to this day, I believe, other than the Porsche 919 Evo lap time that they did, where he toured around the world, of course, obliterating lap records at every major circuit going, it seems. Now into the Schwabenschwank section, before we, of course, get to the final corner before the Dottinger Höhe, of course, Galgenkopf. Again, another tricky corner for traffic. Again, if you've got a car parked on the apex on the inside line, makes it notoriously hard to go around the outside. And of course, you want to be hugging the inside to kind of propel yourself off for the long run down to what is, of course, the Tiergarten and Hohenreichen section before we get back onto the GP. Of course, the clock has hit 0, so I believe any laps are still kind of valid and on for. So, of course, Andy Boardman, I think, will get to finish his lap time. Of course, we've got a bit of a limited time in the AMS2 world. Of course, we don't have our trusty broadcasting tool that we use so much in AMS2. There we see the castle, of course, on the right-hand side. We've got the Touristenfahrten pits, of course, where public sessions begin for the toll road, essentially, that the Nordschleife is deemed as. I believe a season card this year is around €3,000. So if you are prepared to put your time and effort into lapping the circuit in real life, that could be certainly good value for money. Through the Tiergarten section, of course, through the joining of the GP section, and Andy Baldwin will be coming into the pits, so practicing that all-important pit limiter, because obviously, you know, we're going to have a mandatory stop in the Raceville. So, of course, all drivers will need to exercise their pit limiter somewhat, and Tim Ireland's already fallen foul of that one, I believe, in qualifying.
I think we were just talking about it in the chat beforehand, just seeing what we could do with oh hello, what's one of the many quirks with AMS2, but they're all fun. Yeah, we were talking about before we went live. Tim Ireland had I forgot what he had. He had like a speeding in pit lane or something to do with the pit lane. He sped twice in the pit lane, and unlike ACC during qualifying, which is a bit more forgiving with speeding in pit lane, the AMS2 clearly more unhappy with people abusing the pit lane speed limit in qualifying and practice. So, John, go back to your point before when you're talking through the lap there. I remember, obviously people nickname it YouTube Corner for obvious reasons, but is there a reason why people hang about at that particular corner, or why they started to?
I think it's to do with the public entry on the Nordschleife. I think there's from memory, there's a hiking trail that runs around the circuit, and I think somewhere around that corner is an access gate, so it's quite easy for people to get in that way. I know in a lot of the industry pool, of course, when the circuit gets closed off to major manufacturers around the world for their, of course, in-house testing and lap record attempts for production cars, a lot of people do try and sneak in at various points around the circuit. Of course, it's such a long circuit, it's you know, very hard to fully police, should we say, and people, you know, if they do want to find somewhere to get in, they certainly will, to spy on all the latest prototypes that are going around. But I think it's just due to access points. It's one of the easier corners to get in, and like Jesse said in our ears, of course, it's one of those corners that it's well renowned. You know, there's going to be at least one guy with a camera stood on YouTube Corner ready to catch you, you know, sliding out, trying to do a skid, or, you know, throw yourself into the gravel. We've seen all manner of things across the years, especially in, you know, 2023 seems to have been a real year for it. Since, of course, COVID, the pandemic, everything's kind of open again. Everybody has just gone for full sends, I would say, around the Nürburgring this year. But it's a fantastic circuit, and of course, Jesse's just mentioned in ours as well, there's quite a few towns in the local area. So again, that could be a factor. Maybe there's a more popular town just outside YouTube Corner versus where, you know, maybe somewhere in the circuit in between where it's going to be a little bit harder to get to, but I'm sure it's all to do with that. Qualifying has been completed. I do think we still have a few cars out, or I think this is just the interlude between sessions. Of course, this is a bit of a new sim to myself and Phil, so I would say, playing the guessing game almost, Phil, on what's going on. We're speculating. That's quite professional.
Well, that's the most professional word I could be. I was actually a bit surprised when you said, like, people come test their cars here, or at least manufacturers come and test their car. I presume it's like German or more European sports car base models that come to this track, because I know, like, Britain, for instance, has their own permanent testing facility, should we say, Millbrook being a very good example of that, with its own massive bowl and what do you call it, the Alpine test track. But yeah, I presume companies come here more for the publicity than actually testing their cars for real.
Yeah, so the industry pool is I'm just doing a bit of research on it now as we kind of wait for the session to take over.
The spot. Sorry, John.
You have a little bit. I know very little.
Research a bit more.
But let's have a quick research. Of course, the industry pool apparently runs for about 16 to 18 weeks per year. It's normally a 4 or 5 day session, starting on either a Monday or a Tuesday. Hours are fixed, starting at 8 o'clock every morning and running till 5:15, so 17:15 to Europeans. I know your times kind of operate a little bit differently in wording. It's kind of one of those things where manufacturers can, you know, test new technology. They can test new cars. I mean, the new Cayman GT4 RS that came out recently, that was of course doing a lot of industry pool running. Again, it could be longevity testing, it could be new technologies, it could be testing of course for the faster laps, as we see a bit of a big moment there through the Flansgarten section just before we get to the Beloff S's. But again, it could be to do with the lap times that we see. Of course, if you go over to the official Nürburgring YouTube channel, you'll of course see record laps from the newly released Honda Civic, Manthey, when they attempted their entries in the various Porsche builds along the way that have all been filmed. It's all to do, I would say, with that. Again, it can be a time session, so you can get kind of good data from the cars. There's a list of major manufacturers and people that often operate during these industry pools. So it's a majority, like you say, Phil. It's a lot of German manufacturers. So there's Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, including the AMG outfit, BMW and the M cars, of course, as well. The Volkswagen Group, which obviously covers the banner of Seat, Skoda, Bugatti, Lamborghini, Audi. Jaguar Land Rover, of course, they have a good showing at the Nürburgring. One year, the Ring Taxi was the special Jaguar XF, I think it was. The four-door saloon, all the holes drilled in the front bumper, Larry body kit, rear wing, etc. Aston Martin, again, quite a well-known manufacturer. General Motors, Ford, Hyundai. Some tyre manufacturers also hold a membership to the industry pool. These include Yokohama, Continental, Goodyear, Dunlop, so I guess part of the same category.
Are they in the same group?
Redstein, Michelin as well. Again, there's even more members of this pool, including parts manufacturers, which I didn't know until today. So even I'm learning something right now, including Delphi, Tenneco, Bosch, and ZF Sachs. Of course, ZF Sachs, a big gearbox company. So again, they could be doing lots of clutch, flywheel, gearbox mechatronics testing, etc. along the way. So it's a big old circuit. It's used for various things throughout the year. Of course, we've got VLN, which is now known as the NLS, the Nürburgring Langstrecke series. Of course, the big ADAC 24 hours, which recently has obviously become part of the SRO Motorsports Group, along with the tourist sessions, of course, the exclusive track days, where the circuit is hired out exclusively for a bunch of people. Those can be very expensive from what I've seen. And again, the tourist sessions, as we spoke about earlier, which can include the GP circuit at certain times of the year as well. I believe around the 24 and the NLS weekends, of course, with all the barriers out in place, that can result in a few GP laps. And we see an M6 here, an AI on AI, I think that was, nearly pushing the Copa car around. So it's quite interesting. Being told a few of the AI are still on valid laps, so I guess it's only fair, Phil, that we let the AI run their course.
Yeah, we've still got over 400 seconds to go, so plenty of time to go before the end of the session. What's that, another 5 minutes or something like that, I think, off the top of my head? My maths is a bit dodgy today, John, sorry. But yeah, the interesting points you draw about, I thought it was just car manufacturers. It makes more sense when you bring in other like tire manufacturers and your car parts stuff. That makes more sense to me as I go along. I mean, obviously, presumably you had to go in with someone for the platform that your part's going to sit on. That was one other thing I was a bit surprised with when you said was about the tourist trophy, because I remember when I mean this is years and years ago now, when I first got a car of my own, and one of the clauses in the insurance was don't take it to the Nürburgring. It's not insured there. And it's like, oh, people do that? They'll take the normally insured car, or used to, onto the Nürburgring, and then presumably it's like, I think it's like when you have a crash, so you hit a barrier and stuff, you have to pay for that, and that's probably a bit more expensive than whatever if you crash into a barrier, then you obviously have a damaged car, but I think you also have to pay for the what do you call it, like the repair of the barrier as well, which probably is more expensive than the course that you've just written off.
Yeah.
Yourself or something.
Yeah, I've insured a few cars along my years of driving, and every single time they do mention the either the Nürburgring clause somewhere, or they tell you over the telephone. They say, you know, you're not insured for the Nürburgring. Although it's technically by German law a toll road, it's a public toll road, which is why you have to pay to go on it to do a lap essentially. A lot of insurers won't cover you. Again, it is technically a public highway. You pass typically on the left-hand side in tourist sessions. So you know it is a public road in Germany, and yeah, crash repairs can get quite expensive. Again, I've fast googled another Nürburgring blog, having a quick skim through at the costs. This was from written in 2020, I believe, back when a year season ticket costed 2,200 euros. So again, if you can certainly get your money's worth out of that, it's going to be well worth the investment. A basic fee. This was again a few years ago now, post-COVID. Again, inflation. Take of it what you will. A base fee for attendance of the Armco truck is 150 euros. Removing a damaged Armco is at 10 euros a meter, obviously by 2, 3, or 4, depending how many layers are in the Armco. That's just for removing the Armco. Let's just bear in mind. Replacing the Armco is 31 euros a meter. Again,
is that labour and material, or is that just?
Yes, so that includes the Armco, and that doesn't actually include replacing it. So that's just for the Armco section. So that's 31 meters.
Okay, so that's just supplying it. That's not actually.
So you're already 41 euros in for someone to take out the Armco and buy a section of Armco. This could be times 2 or 3. This is for double or triple height. So obviously if you've got a double height Armco barrier, that's 62 euros a meter you're paying for that section. Removing the Armco posts, so the thing that supports the actual Armco along the way, 5 euros. There's 10 of them in each meter of Armco. This is 5 euros per post.
Do you want to tot all this up, John? You're already totting it up as you go along.
I'm not totting this up yet, but this is getting expensive already the more I'm reading down the list. Replacing the Armco post, so the man to fit the Armco post in the floor, 39 euros each. So just to replace that, you're nearly, 90, 89 euros in, plus the cost of the Armco itself. If a safety car has to attend, it's at 82 euros for 30 minutes. That's one car plus 2 people. So if you have obviously 2 cars and 4 people, you're already in the 160s. If you manage to close...
Is that half an hour from when it leaves the pit lane, or is that half an hour from when it's at the scene?
I have very little information. I'd like to say that's half an hour of it on the scene. Yeah, I like to think it's half an hour on the scene. And then if the circuit gets closed, if you do such a good job that you shut the whole venue down, 1,350 euros per hour. Per hour, this is, bear in mind. So obviously if an Armco takes a couple of hours to replace, you're already 2,700 euros in debt at this point. If you then need your car recovered, if you then need it recovered, Phil, 500 euros to get the car back. That's not even including, for us people, of course, getting the car back from Germany to Europe, or to the UK, sorry. That's going to be even more. It doesn't even, it says hospital and stay and air ambulance. Let's just say do not even go there without travel insurance. So that's another thing there. Everything except the recovery truck price that I just mentioned is plus VAT. Plus VAT at 19%. So again, you can chuck another 20% on your 31 euro Armco meters, 39 euros to replace a post. The record Armco bill, which this blog poster, this is on nürburgring.org.uk.
Can we have a guess, John?
Go on, throw a figure out there, Phil. The record Armco bill.
Record Armco bill. Okay. I'm going to go... So I'm going to go with, I think there's a lot of people that come here have more money than sense. So I'm going to go with a 6-figure sum. So I'm going to go with 126,000 euro, I guess.
That would be very impressive, I would say. The record that I've got written here, I don't know if this is gospel, again, take it as you will. The record Armco bill is 15,000 euro, and that was a car that managed to flatten a very impressive length of Armco between Quiddelbacher Her Bridge, so just before you get to the Flugplatz section, on the crest approach to Flugplatz. And it says, but even a minor bump can turn into a surprisingly very expensive one. And for some reason, my Google Chrome has just crashed. I don't think it liked all those costs being read out.
It didn't like seeing all that money on your browser, John. That's what it was.
It definitely didn't. It's not used to all the money I'm trying to show
you
right
showed up the sim racing parts thing, John. It should be used to that by now. It just
Absolutely
seems big money.
That's the one. I mean, like we say, a season ticket, €2,200. So imagine you forked out €2,200. You then go and total your car, €15,000 on top of that. That's a very expensive year. But like you say, a lot of people that regularly attend the ring, of course, have quite a lot of wedge. They know the risks involved along the way as well. It's one of those circuits that can bite you very hard. A lot of people recommend, of course, hiring a car when you go. A lot of car hire packages now at the ring will include some form of insurance or insurance waiver. So if you do crash, you only pay a set amount, and then the insurance deal with the rest of it. And obviously, if you're new to the circuit, that's more than likely, I would say, the best cause for advice. I've just seen as well this M6 still behind the Copa car. The AI are loving this.
They're just chilling. Look how wide that car is, though, compared to that Copa car.
An absolutely large sniff going on right now, I would say.
That's large sniff.
The only way it can get larger is if we had a G series, maybe M4 behind, of course, with the bigger grille. Qualifying session finally over here after enough waffle. Andy Boardman still doing his best impression of a Beyblade in pit lane, and cars are now beginning to reach the grid. But final results there on your screens. Andy Boardman to the top, of course, on that one, followed by Monday event admin, ironically, Tim Ireland. Toyota, the late sign-up, of course, for today. Cormac Malloy in P4, Les Stevenson in P5. And we're already jumping straight into the race field. It's a very short formation lap. I knew it was going to be short, but I wasn't expecting it to be this short. So I think we're on a rolling start by the looks of it. A few cars are gapping each other. It's a little bit of a hold, and the flag has dropped at the 1 hour mark. So 1 hour on the clock tonight. We've of course got mixed weather conditions that we have been told about. So at some point, there's contact already. Andy Boardman hit in the rear by a Porsche. I'm not too sure who that was. Possibly, I don't want to say Cormac Malloy, but I'm just trying to work out who that could have been. Maybe Les Stevenson actually in P2 at the moment. I'm sure this timing board on the left is up to date. It is Toyota out in front, coming down, of course, to the end of the GP circuit. We're, of course, already on the latter half of the GP section, the 24-hour layout, of course, employing the Yokohama S-curve, where you turn right at the hairpin and then immediately left back on yourself, brings you out just after the Mercedes Arena. So it's a very quick lap. Of course, to the bottom of the hill that I've got dubbed down here as the Goodyear curve. It does change in various sims. I know in ACC.
Curve,
we know it as Dunlop curve. So essentially the tyre company curve is what me and Phil kind of decided on here. And we've got Tim Ireland, of course, the disqualification from speeding in the pit lane. He has been allowed to race. We were a little bit unsure on what was going to happen with Tim, of course, getting a penalty in the qualifying. We weren't sure if he was going to be allowed to keep running or not. But GT3 drivers now through the Advan Bogan I've got written down, or the Hatzenbach Bogan, depending on which variant we're using here. And into the Vidal chicane. Cormac Malloy up into P2, a driver who we don't often see a lot in ACC. He looks up the inside on the switchback to the Nordschleife section. So we're, of course, entering now the Sabina Schmitz curve, recently named, of course, after the dearly deceased Sabina Schmitz. Of course, a touching tribute from the Nürburgring corporation, should we say, to name a corner after the Queen of the Ring, dubbed, of course, from the early Top Gear episodes. Now into the Hatzenbach section. This is the typical switchback. Again, be very careful of the curbs. Some of them you can take, others you've got to really avoid, and some you can really abuse, like this right-hander here we're just seeing in the background, the red Mercedes. You can normally take all of that one and kiss the inside on the left before, of course, opening up to the right and the left section for propelling yourself towards Flugplatz, where we just spoke about the very expensive barrier repairs. Riding on board, of course, you can see the undulations and the elevations coming over the top. Of course, famous place of Jan Mardenborough's crash. Again, if you've seen Gran Turismo movie, fantastic reenactment of that incident. Of course, we do have a mandatory stop on the cards tonight. Again, mandatory tyre change, but fuel is not required. There may be a slight issue with the server config. We're being told about Tim not enabling fuel refueling enabled in the race. So, of course, drivers are going to have to brim the tank, and cars are going to be at their heaviest right now. So it's probably going to be a bit of a learning curve for these drivers. But fantastic start for some of these drivers. Adler is around Malloy. Not sure who Adler is, actually. I've not got anything on my notes. This must be a new driver to RCI, Phil.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we've had a fairly interesting start. We've had what was it called? The expensive corner you called it?
Flugplatz.
Yeah, we had. I think they went 3 wide after they crested the hill, going into the right-hander through there. It looked a bit hairy, but yeah, fairly decent start. I think, and we had Jesse Lee just in our ears before when they were going through the I say the stadium section. So and that's Les Stevenson nearly going off there through the fast. It's like a double left-hander again. Going off Jesse Lee going nearly. Obviously, like there's a lot more scary accidents that can happen through there if you go off the track. So that's what I meant. But yeah, it was Andy Bourman now recovering from his lap 1. I wouldn't say shunt, but he had like a little punt from Tim Ireland. We speculate for now, but yeah, he's recovering quite nicely. I think he went down to at least 6th off the top of my head. And here's Adler. He's trying to get past Toyota at the minute. I think that's I was just having a look while we were doing it. It's Philip Kipp, I believe, is his name, or at least he's registered on RCI as Philip Kipp anyway. In P1 in the Porsche, as Adler still nicely tucked behind at the minute. Andy Bourman's probably going to be catching this pair up quite quickly indeed. He had a fair bit of an advantage during qualifying. So yeah, I think he was saying, or Andy Bourman was at the start of the day, or at least talking to Tim Ireland in the public chat, like he's not used to the game. So I mean, definitely very fast in ACC. So I'm going to guess that some of that talent can move across sims, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, sim racing is one of those things. Normally, if you're quick in one sim, you can be equally as quick in another. And they're just proving this right now. We've got Les Stevenson here battling Lloyd. This is actually an AI car. AI has been cranked up to 100% for this race. So, a little bit of Porsche on Porsche action here. The Fat Stig, of course, in the car behind. It's pretty weird seeing AI race, humans so kind of accurately, I would say. The AI is making it awkward for Les to find a way through, and he's still trying to put the nose of that Porsche to the inside there before we come up to, of course, the carousel, the famous, of course, bank corner. You drop the car in, use the banking to suck yourself around essentially on that one before, of course, launching the car off and trying to propel yourself as fast as you can. But Les now coming under pressure as well from the Mercedes-Benz behind. Again, that's another AI car in the background, so Les is getting swallowed up by these AIs, but it's fantastic to see the AI all over the curb just trying to find a way through Les. It's really strange to see, of course, AI racing humans. We don't get this luxury in ACC, of course. It's good to fill the grid out, should we say, with additional drivers. Of course, sometimes these events do lack a few numbers, but of course the AI being a bit respectful there, I would say, Phil. I was quite expecting the AI just to drive through Les like he wasn't even there.
I was going to say, I think the AI is probably. I was going to ask how aggressive is this AI in this game, because I mean, he was looking up the nose at any opportunity through there. Was Negrao as he follows Les through some of these technical sections. Not certain I would put my nose up where that Mercedes was, but yeah, as we move back to Adler and Kit in the lead, or that's Toyota, as you can see. There's Andy Bourman's now right up behind them, certainly gaining a fair bit of advantage there, going through through some of the faster bits. I think Adler just had a bit of a moment as we go on the driver cam now with Andy Bourman now coming through what's this now, John? We're into these. Is this like the final third of the lap?
Yeah, it's basically the Beloff S's before we get to, of course, this section here. Schwabenschwanz, where we see Andy Bourman there trying the inside and into the mini carousel, essentially here. And again, it's much like the bigger version. Drop it into the concrete, throw it out the other side, and kind of launch yourself off the banking. And now we're going to see the power of the slipstream. This was a big problem I wouldn't say a problem actually, it's a big issue, maybe is the right word, I don't know. As Andy Bourman there understeers off a little bit, not sure what happened there, but I'm seeing raindrops on the camera, Phil. We knew it was going to be a variable race, but we didn't think it would be this far in, and already you see the slipstream here that I was going to mention. Of course, when you fend off your rival for near 8 minutes a lap, and then it comes down to the final straight, and this is of course where we've seen a lot of drama in real life. We've seen Kevin Estra with a pass on the grass. We've seen Audi R8s of course bump drafting each other. We saw the Van Tor brothers just a few years ago of course take each other out in the Tiergarten section, and Adler's already got the move done before we get to that stage. Toyota down to second and Adler up into first. I'm just trying to think who Adler is. Looking at the sign-ups, Phil, I think this is actually Jack Mays in this car. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, I've got Papa Bless on my Steam relation to the RCI user on the little table that we all got sent before the broadcast, and in the chat, in the voice chat for AMS2, I can see Papa Bless is in there, so I can only assume Adler is in fact Jack Mays, which is of course very confusing for us up here in the box, but a clean pass nonetheless. Nobody electing to come into the pits, so I'm assuming everybody is going to be on dry tyres, Phil. If this is anything like AC, this could get very sketchy towards the latter half of the lap, especially if this rain does stay in. But Tim Ireland mentioned as well that of course you can have different sections of the track that are wet, so much like the real life races, of course. So cast your mind back to a few years ago when of course the heavens opened. Audi played an absolute stormer. They pulled the car in early for wets, went back out 2/3 of the way around the lap, the heavens opened, half the track was soaked, half the track was dry, and Audi was just gaining time and time in order to take the race win at the end. But although we're raining in the GP section, could be a different story once we get up to the latter half of the circuit, when we do hit the kind of Kesselchen famous kind of uphill. It's a straight but not really a straight section later on. So time's going to tell, Phil.
I was going to say, like, I think it's sort of like a bit of faith really, because you don't have the benefit. I'm not really sure in this game of a race engineer to tell you where's dry on the track and where it's wet on the track. You just have to keep going and just hope for the best, really. Presumably, as we see Les Stevenson now join the Nordschleife loop after the GP loop. Coming through. What's this now? This is not Hatzenbach. We're coming up to Hatzenbach in a minute, but yeah, it's one of those things really where you just have to put so much faith in your own driving ability. Really, I mean, we're still on slick tyres going through this twisty, windy section of the track. You just don't know just how much grip you're going to have. You just have to plant it and just see if you got grip. As Jesse Lee told us, we've got 2 retirements. Presumably they're both AI cars, and I certainly haven't seen any of our human contingent retired just yet. But yes, it's as you see, nearly goes that time nearly off the track, and just putting a wheel or 2 off the track. That was Les Stevenson. As we move to see the 2 AI drivers, that's Lloyd and the Grau just behind, racing each other. Now, saw just how aggressive this Merc was with Les Stevenson a lap before, John. Just how aggressive do you think these AI drivers are going to be with each other, or do you think they're just going to chill and try and catch up with Les when they can?
Yeah, I remember the old days of R Factor 1 and GTR 2, GT Legends. The AI used to be quite interesting to drive against each other, and there's a little gap there. The Mercedes tries for it through, this is of course Arenberg after the Schweinenkreuz curve, down what is known as the foxhole. It's ever descending, cascading before you hit this big compression at the bottom. You come up the other side, there's a lot of curb on the inside you can really abuse before we get to Adenauer Forst. Of course, the slower section, again, this is almost like another YouTube corner in finger quotations. A lot of people elect to stand on the outside. Again, it can provide for some exciting videos. Drivers straight lining Adenauer Forst, not always making the corner in time for the apexes, and everybody trying to drift the best they can, of course, with the left to the right motion. It's good for a little transition or so. But yeah, it's a tricky section of corners, and we're back on board here with Andy Boardman just behind Toyota. This is towards the few corners up, so this is around the Kallenhard, Breitscheid kind of area before we get, of course, to Exmüller and the Bergwerk up the top of the hill. But yeah, again, tricky section of corners. It's known as the kind of the miss-hit-miss corners. One of those corners. It looks very simple. It's a long right-hander. You miss the first curb, you hit the second curb, and you miss the third curb. That's the kind of the fastest way around that corner. Some drivers elect to hug the inside line. Again, some people do the old hit-miss-hit, which is, again, what we kind of don't want to do on that corner. So there's variations of the long right-hander. We're coming up now. I believe this is towards Bergwerk now, the bank right-hander. So there's light rain. You can see the wipers going. There's not a lot of spray coming off the cars or kind of on the floor. And this is the long drag now for Kesselchen. This is like a forever-ending climbing section of. But it's basically a straight with a few kinks in it before we get to the tricky corner of Klostertal, which is the fast left-hander, which is kind of like a dab of the brakes, down a gear, flick it in, pin the throttle, and pray that you don't catch mid-corner understeer, because there's not a lot of grass on the right-hand side if you have a look, and we know how expensive those Armco repairs can be from earlier on, Phil. We looked at that one, didn't we? But the M6 looking much more planted through there compared to the Porsche. Again, he's certainly got a run with the turbo power of the BMW, and up the inside, Toyota in the wall. It's going to be an expensive repair here, Phil, and the wings come off, the bumper's hanging off, and this is the true damage model we see here in AMS. And I believe Tim Ireland has mentioned that the rear wings are going to be very expensive as it comes back to bonk him on the front of the car. But yeah, certainly can carry the car back, carry the wing back with the car into the wall for the front bumper again, into the rear. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe just frustrated, ghosted to allow another car through, and that's going to be some lengthy repairs. It's almost like a 911 compact by this point, and I think Tim Ireland did mention rear wing repairs are very, very long in AMS2.
Oh! I think he's lost all of his rear downforces for Toyota there. But yeah, I was about to say before he went into the barrier, he's going to be a demon on that back straight, John. But probably not anymore, sadly. But yeah, I think that's probably retirement for Toyota. He's a bit too. I don't know Nürburgring unless you haven't told. Figured out already. Don't know Nürburgring on the Nordschleife myself very well, but that looks like we're about halfway around the track there, John. So we've probably got a long time before even near the pit lane for Toyota. Obviously, as Jesse Lee's pointed out in chat, there's no return to garage option in this in AMS2. So you only have one choice, and the choice is drive it back to the pits. And I think he's going slower than he's clearly going slower than those Copa cars there. But I think he's stuck on a curb or something now. I think he's stuck on a curve. I think he's got a bit too low a ride height there, John Dalton. As we move back, as we see Les Stevenson having a fight with the 2AI again. He's probably going to get sick inside. It's like watching an episode of The Terminator or something like that, John. Just man against machine.
Oh, the AI's gone around in the background. That's Lloyd, one of the AI cars, of course, with the star. He's just trying to. Austin powers it kind of out of the corner. I don't know if he knows how much room he has behind him, but this is the problem. This is the problem with AI, of course. Maybe he's trying not to get on the racing line or something. I'm not sure what the Porsche is trying. Oh, no! And the McLaren collects it. Cormac Malloy goes down the Armco, scraping along the wall, and Matthew Malcolm's going to be the next car on the scene, I feel. But Cormac Malloy just about managed to avoid the stricken Porsche. But fantastic racing from the AI here.
I think he avoided the Porsche, but he went straight into that expensive Armco, John, instead.
Yeah, I think that's
I'm not really sure if you're. It's like that. Is that those, what do you call it, like that trolley problem? Like you're presented with either a Porsche or a Nürburgring Armco, what do you hit, John? If you had the choice, I guess.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Either way, that's going to be one expensive hit, whether it's Nürburgring Armco or, of course, the rear end of that Porsche. Rain looks a little bit heavier. We've got some lights coming on. I think that's for an AI car ahead. That's Holmes. If you look at Cormac's steering wheel there, it's pointed to about the 1 o'clock position on the face of a clock, and that indicates some kind of steering damage. I've been told in chat, Adler isn't Jack Mays. So you could be right. It could be Philip Kipp, I think you mentioned earlier.
That's what do you call it? What was his name? Another guy. Hasn't got a spoiler anymore. What's his name? Come on, John, help me.
Hasn't got a spoiler. Toyota,
yeah, that's all right.
Oh, okay.
I've had a quick look at the RCI website. And he's down as Philip Kipp.
So who is Adler? Who's this mysterious driver we have with us tonight? We need to know. We need to get somebody down to pit lane. Maybe Jesse Lee can try and figure it out for us.
Yeah, Jesse Lee, our pit lane reporter, can help us there. Maybe.
Maybe so. Maybe we can figure out who Adler is. Doesn't ring a bell in ACC terms, but you never ever know who it could be. Andy Boardman still out on dry tyres, I believe, currently catching Adler. Of course, we've got a few more AI cars in the pit lane. We've got Cormac Malloy, Hubert Hauser, and Matthew Malcolm, to name a few of the humans with us here tonight. Of course, we're only 20 minutes in. My maths is failing me tonight as well, Phil, but 20 minutes in, and it's already been quite electrifying. And this is just with a handful of humans. You know, can you imagine if we had 20 sign-ups for humans and maybe another 20 AI, a 40-car grid tonight? That could have been absolute chaos.
Would have been we'll talk about, bring it up again, but we'll talk about man versus machine. But it would have been definitely a bit more of an interesting fight. But we had Andy Boardman now currently catching up quite handily with Adler, certainly through the Grand Prix section there. When we just tuned into him as he's going through the sector 2, I think it was, of the Grand Prix section, he was only about 1.5 seconds behind. That's brought itself down now to about, well, it was about 7/10. Is the timing board as they both go through. He's overtaken through Hudson back. I think Adler's went a bit wide over Hudson, and they all gone wide. I mean,
it's very wet here, Phil.
Wide and hit the barrier as they're both realising just how wet it is on these dry tyres.
Yeah, we said earlier on, didn't we, Phil? It could be soaking wet at two different parts of the track, and that's exactly what has happened here. Of course, both drivers arrived at Hatzenbach expecting it to be dry, expecting to have the standard grip that they had. You can already see their trouble for Adler as he comes over the Kuhlbacher section towards Flugplatz, and that's going to be some more Armco to add to the tally. I think we're going to bankrupt RCI here tonight in Armco repairs alone once we leave the ring, but look how wet it is coming over the Flugplatz, of course, down towards Schweidenkrotz and Arenberg, and I can only assume Adler might have suspension damage. We need to see the angle of the steering wheel if we can, and he is very gingerly teetering around, isn't he? The steering wheel looks relatively straight compared to Cormac Malloy's car, but there's certainly a problem with that M6. I'm wondering if he's just lost all confidence, Phil. You see the traction lights there flashing. It could just be the issue that he's having, but you can see how glossy the road is and how much spray is coming off the car, and struggling to get it drawn up for Arenberg in the gravel already. And it looks like Negrau is coming back as well, and Les Stevenson has lost a place to Negrau on the subject of which he was ahead of him just a few laps ago. Just last lap, I think, actually. We say a few laps, it's 8.5 minutes. But Les has got damage as well. He's missing a wing, Phil. I think all the drivers are getting caught out with how slippery it is down at the Hatzenbach and Horeiken section.
I was going to say, I think some of the guys who came pitting, I think Cormac Malloy obviously forced to pit due to damage, but if he's changed his tyres to wets, he's probably made a bit of a fantastic call. He's just going past the GT4 AI there as we see that the flat front. I assume that's all cosmetic now, and he's probably got some sort of... Oh, and he's spun! Commentators, sorry, John. And yeah, let's hope he gets his car spinning again, or at least his rear tire spinning as he rolls back onto the curb. Definitely thinking about it, but yeah, I was going to say, like, I think I'm not really sure if Tim set this weather up to be wet mid-race or not, but yeah, it's probably going to see like the rain. Jesse's just in my ear telling me that's correct, as we see a teleport to garage there. Andy Boardman still having to gingerly bring this car around the track at the minute, but if anybody's pitted the lap before onto wet tyres, this may be the opportunity for them. But yeah, if we're running heavy rain with going into dry weather, then we're probably going to see the track dry up before the end of the race, or at least knowing ACC anyway. It's not raining that much by comparison, but it certainly looks fairly wet out there. Not sure if it's the intensity of the rain or the lack of cars on the track at the minute, but yeah, we're certainly trawling. Certainly, some of these drivers are deciding to soldier through this weather, John.
Yeah, so it's a very tricky condition, isn't it, at the moment? Look at all the spray coming up just a lap ago. You know, we had none of that. So, like you say, Phil, whether it's just the lack of cars circulating, that means, of course, no water's getting kind of dispersed, or whether it's kind of low temperature, should we say, in the game. Maybe not, of course, evaporating the water as much, but there's certainly definitely more standing water around than what we did have just a few moments ago. Hauser, we're speculating up here just with how confident he is through this lap. He's got to be on a set of wet tyres. It's the only kind of logical solution at the moment. Tim Ireland's also up in P6 overall. Wondering if he is on wets or dries. We just see him up the curb and very gingerly coming through the hotel section, the bank right-hand corner, apparently going down the order. So Lloyd is somehow making up time here as well, and Lloyd is about to catch Tim Ireland as well. I'm not sure how the AI perform in these scenarios. I'm not sure whether it's like, you know, super, like other games where they become kind of superhuman with infinite amounts of grip on dry tyres, or whether
I think they do. If you look at how quickly Negrel's catching Boardman at the minute, it was 7 seconds. It was, Paul Lloyd got damaged as well. Oh, let's say Paul, never mind. Lloyd's got damage.
Making up first names now.
yeah. So, well, I'm going to say Xavier Negrel, Paul Lloyd, and
yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I don't know, Young. I don't know. I can't think of a name for that one. Frankie Young, Mike Graham,
Freddie,
Ronnie Berg. We're good at this, John. We're good at this, John. We're good at this, John.
It's getting really delusional up here in the box, I think, right now. We're getting confused with who may be AI and who may be human at this point. But yeah, you can certainly imagine a lot of the first names, can't you?
Look at that time tumble in P2. This was 7 seconds about a minute ago.
Yeah, it's a bit drier here though, Phil. You look at the spray we had, of course, off the back of Hauser's car just a few moments ago, compared to what Andy Boardman's experiencing currently through the latter half of the circuit. Of course, it's going to be a steaming Negrel, I think, in the rear of Andy Boardman very shortly. There's already the Mercedes as they come through the twisty section. This is one of my favourite sections of the circuit towards the latter half. This is really like Whipperman and X-Back on the run up to Brunchen. But looks very dry here. Blue skies over the Nürburgring, and this is how different it can be in the Eifel region. Of course, we do have the Nordschleife coming to ACC at some point next year. Of course, the release date for GT2s was released over the weekend. For those of you that missed that tweet, it's been everywhere, but a little bump and run certainly there from Negrel on Andy Boardman, and that's probably going to wake Boardman up and think, yeah, you know what, maybe I have got a bit more grip. Let's push this car and see what we can do, because it certainly looks a lot drier here. But Andy Boardman's going to be guessing now, Phil. Of course, he's in this lovely part towards the end of the circuit, at Flansgarten, coming up to the Beloff S section, as we see Negrel there go wide in the background. He's going to be wondering, though, how wet is Haxenbach still? Is it still soaking wet? Should I pit now? Should I gamble again, knowing that the wetness is going to be there through Flugplatz all the way up to, it was about around Muller and Bergwerk. I think it started drying out on the run to Kesselchen. But yeah, it's a weird old thing seeing, of course, two different weather types almost in the same circuit. Of course, we're used to ACC, aren't we, Phil, where when it rains across the whole track. And, of course, when it's dry, it's drying across the whole track. Everything's fairly consistent and uniform. But will we get this experience in ACC, I wonder? Will they edit anything in the code that allows this kind of mixed condition? I'm wondering, does Kunos have it in them? Can they make, Bergwerk soaking wet, meanwhile down at Hatzenbach at the beginning of the lap completely dry? Because that is going to really throw a spanner in the works with some big endurance races next year.
Do you want the answer? Do you want the head answer or the heart answer, John?
The head answer says no, it's not possible. My heart answer says yes, it is possible.
Absolutely not. Never going to happen. Probably focusing more on what do you call it, AC2 rather than any more ACC stuff. So I'm just going to guess they're just getting out wherever they can for ACC before they focus on the next thing. But my heart says, yes, come on, Kunos, you can do this. Surely to goodness, it should be. No, if AMS can do it, so can ACC.
Exactly.
Just use that logic,
Anything you can do, I can do better. Just look to the top right, Phil. Just realise we are getting reveals of people's first names in the kind of event log of the race. So we've got Fred Young, we've got Willie Dietz. I would have gone with Walter personally on that one. Matt Graham. We're just speculating here.
Willie Dietz.
Dietz. I don't know. I don't speak the tongue.
I'm pretty sure it's Dietz. But I don't know. It's definitely. I don't think it's Dietz though. I think it's Dietz, in German. Although I'm pretty sure someone can point us out in the chat if any of us are right or if both of us are wrong, which has happened before. As we move back to Les Stevenson's more spider-looking Porsche, should we say, John?
It's certainly less draggy, should we say, down the Dottinger. I'm sure that was going to be a rocket in a straight line last time by without that rear wing. Gets it on the pit limiter though, brings it down the pit lane, and we're going to have a damage repair. It's probably going to be a lengthy one this time for Les Stevenson. Of course, it's good to see Les is continuing on. And we have animated pit crews by the looks of it in AMS2 as well. Look at that, running around with the board. Car goes up, the hands are waving, tyres are changing. Look at this. This is fantastic.
Oh, look, he's got his car repaired. Oh, look how quick those boys are.
Fastest repair ever in the West.
Yeah,
the Fat Stick Racing Camp certainly very speedy. There's a long hold though, so I can only assume that's going to be for simulated repairs, shall we say, while they straighten out the car. And
they're all using their
the
magic eyes to repair the ar. They're just staring at it and it just repairs automatically.
Intently stare, and off he goes through the lollipop man there. But back out onto circuit goes Les Stevenson, and he's not actually lost too many positions. He's at the back of the GT4 field. He's of course got Holmes. He's just had a GT4 or two go past him as well. So half an hour left of the race nearly. Still plenty of time to make up, of course, if the weather changes like it just did, Phil. Of course, that caught out a lot of drivers going around the lap. Of course, Andy Boardman did stay out on dry tyres. Weather forecast is expected to be dry to the finish. There is a mandatory stop, of course, they've got to make. So I'm going to guess that has counted as Les Stevenson's mandatory stop. So everybody will be down the lane at least once. Les there combining his mandatory stop probably into some damage repairs. So it might have been a very smart move by Les unintentionally.
Yeah, indeed, it was quite a smart move as he's coming around one of the GT4s. That's Mark Mora, I believe that's the name I'm going to go with, as he goes off the track. Probably getting used to the fact he's got downforce again now as he's going around the Schumacher S's, I think there, John. It's a bit weird. I'm not used to some of these cameras, John. But going back to your point about pit stops, I was a bit curious. One of the things that I need to get used to in ACC still is driving into a pit box properly, and I'm not really sure if you need to do the same in AMS, or is it a bit more forgiving? It's so soaking wet. I mean, that's a foxhole, isn't it, John?
Yeah,
that's Boardman and the crowd come through.
Yeah, that's down the foxhole, of course, up the other side through the Adenauer Forst towards Metzgerveld. There's a dry line forming though, we're being told in our ears. I can't quite see it from these camera angles, but I'm sure Andy Boardman very gingerly touching the throttle, of course, with the turbo-powered M6. It's going to be giving him all of the power all at once the turbo gets spooled in on that one, and Negrau almost pushing him down towards Metzgerveld there, towards the Kallenhardt section. It's it's something to watch, isn't it? An AI hustling a human around, and everybody said be scared of AI, and Andy Boardman's off the circuit. Negrau through the inside. This is into Metzgerveld before the change back to Kallenhardt. Can you imagine the upset if an AI wins, Phil? How are we gonna cast an interview with an AI driver?
Well, we'll have to get our binary translators out, I think, John, and we'll have to do it that way.
Maybe we'll do it with ChatGPT.
Yes, exactly. Yes, good point. We'll do.
We'll pose questions to ChatGPT. As Boardman's in the wall, miss. He's unfortunately mishit and scraped it down the Armco before getting it back on to the track. That's through that's Bergwerk. That's not Bergwerk. Sorry, that's towards the Breitscheid section.
It's X-Mühl or whatever it's called now, isn't it?
Yeah, around the X-Müller section now, going down towards... no, this is Breitscheid, sorry, before X-Müller, I believe. The track map is very disorientating when you're looking at it one way, then you're looking at the cameras the other way. Botman's in the wall again.
I was going to say, that's Bergwerk. That's Bergwerk. He keeps hitting the barrier. I think he may have suspension damage now. I was going to say, John, while we're watching Andy Boardman watch Negrau run away into the distance now. I'm not when they're through the GP section. I had to double check my bearings because I'm so used to ACC cameras that some of these automobilista cameras are a bit like, wait, where am I? I kind of recognize this bit, but oh, it's this bit, of course, right? Okay, but yeah, so I'd say Andy Boardman still has about a good, what do you call that, John? About another 10 kilometers before he can even get to a pit lane, I'd say, from where he is, with a fairly damaged car on a soaking wet track. So I've been in better situations than Andy Boardman with a damaged car.
Yeah, so I've raced Andy Boardman in many guises in ACC, and he's a very quick driver, and kudos to him for really sticking this one out. You can see it's a little less wet through the Kesselchen and Klostertal section before we get to where would be the... there's actually a shortcut for the old layout just to the left there where the gate is. If you go up there, it kind of brings you out the other side of this section towards the Horax. Just before, of course, when we come out the carousel, we go left, right, up the hill, over the crest. As you go over the crest, that's where the shortcut brings you out onto the Horax section. So it's I think they open it, I believe, during like the rally events they host here. If you have a look on YouTube for Nordschleife rally, they actually run the final sector and other sectors in reverse. So they go backwards around the carousel, which obviously you go round to the right instead of the left. Very peculiar to watch, but it is a thing in real life, and it's quite interesting to see. Andy Boardman now in the much drier part of the circuit. Meanwhile, Les Stevenson still boating his way around. This is down towards, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is towards Breitscheid, I believe, where the bridge is.
Oh yeah, he's done
and into the wall. It's literally a one-to-one with Boardman, isn't it? It's good to see the humans are replicating each other in the same mistakes. I'm wondering if the AI will make the same mistake or not, or whether they've been trained to avoid that one.
Are you sure that the asterisks mean human, AI? Maybe it means humans.
Maybe we've had a fat Stig AI this whole time. We've not realised.
Yeah, and a Boardman AI, yeah, because they just did the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a one-to-one, isn't it? You know, it's crazy. But Les Stevenson here getting out onto the drier part of the circuit now, beginning his run through Kesselchen up to Klostertal in the Porsche. And again, it's weird to see this car, isn't it, Phil? Of course, in ACC, we've gone through 2 evolutions of the Porsche to get where we are now. This is, of course, the very first iteration of the 911 that we have in ACC. We then have the new kind of the newer, should we say, the facelifted one, again different bumper, similar rear lights, new rear wing, and then of course we've got the 992 as well. So very outdated machinery to what we're used to seeing, but I still love the way this car looks. There's something about it, it just looks great.
I'm gonna say something slightly heinous, John, when I say apart from the rear of the new Porsche, they kind of look the same to me. I can't really tell the difference between some of these older Porsches, or certainly the evolutions from Porsche to Porsche. But I'm probably going to have like some judging faces look at me when I make that comment. But yeah, apart from the new, I nearly called it light bar, but it's sort of like a light bar on the back of the new Porsche or the rear of the Porsche. But yeah, I still like the look of these cars. Like I remember driving, I think it's like the last one before the 992 in ACC. And for the first time for a while, I actually had fun driving Bathurst in one of these cars. So yeah, I do like the old Porsche. I haven't really gotten to gel with the old Porsche. I haven't really gotten to gel with the new one as much. Maybe because it just has a bit different power delivery. It certainly feels a bit different. This is Tim Allen. Tim Allen 5th place at the minute. Currently about a minute behind Negrau for the lead. But Tim, I believe, has already pitted, and Negrau I don't think has pitted yet. Still 23 minutes to go. Presumably Negrau's actually started a new lap. So we're probably looking at, John, I'd say about 3 laps at the line for Tim before the end of the race.
Yeah, roughly 9 minutes a lap. So 2 laps, 18 minutes. You've still got a little bit of a buffer. So yeah, certainly would be the kind of pit 3 laps till the end. I was just looking at all the AI again in the top right, all cycling through, making another pit stop. I think some of the Copa cars are just kind of bucketed with going into the pit lane constantly. We've not really seen a lot of action on the track with slower cars at the moment. I thought it would be a lot more kind of congested in some of the places. We do have a £2 dono from Ash Bibby in YouTube. Thank you very much indeed, Ash. For the weirdest stream they've ever watched, and believe you me, Ash Bibby has watched quite a few streams, so this being the weirdness certainly takes it to the top. We see Andy Boardman there navigating through some of the Copa cars. As I was just saying, we've not seen them much, and as soon as I say that, Jesse Lee goes and finds some for us. But
we find two of them. It's like a London bus, John.
Yeah, it's like you wait for a bus, two come along at once, and then you just stood there cursing. One's either really early or the other's really late, and they've just turned up at the same time, really frustratingly. Through the Vidal chicane goes Andy Boardman out onto the Nordschleife now. I know what you're saying about the camera angles, Phil. Of course, the ones in ACC we look at, we know exactly where we are, exactly what point of the track, and now we're at MS2. It's the same but different, which makes it even harder up here in the comms box, especially while we're overcasting a new sim. But I must say the grass looks fantastic in AMS2 there in that shot.
Yeah, we need to pay whatever whoever's been mowing the lawn, to be honest, around the Nordschleife would do mine, to be honest. It's looking a mess. But yeah, Andy Boardman coming through. Looks like the first. I'm gonna refer to it as thirds, John, until I recognise where we are. But as we see more Copa goals.
Oh!
Nearly, I think he just hit the wet section of the track just as he was making avoiding action. I think some of these Copa cars feel like they're on pit limiters as you approach them in these GT3s, John. Certainly Andy Boardman probably saw them and thought, I got plenty of time to catch up with them. And then suddenly just you catch up with them before you even think about it as you go through. Oh, I know where we are. We're at the opening start of the lap, aren't we? Or at least the opening quarter of the lap.
Yeah, we're Schweidenkreuz going into Arenberg before the cascade down the foxhole.
Because that there's that long what do you call it? Long left-hander over a crest, or at least the
Yep.
Nearly like I nearly use rally terms then, but yeah, it's like a crest on the apex.
Left 5 over crest, care outside.
Definitely more than a 5, John. I think it's like a 4, but yeah, I mean, I was going to say like I think yeah, one of the challenges, because AC has like a bunch of challenges, doesn't it? Several Nürburgring time attack ones, and I think there's one with the AE86 around here, trying to do it in less than 10 minutes, which I've failed to do so far.
I might need to go and try that after this. I
think there's a challenge where you can do that, like in an AE86 is you have to do it in less than 10 minutes. I think the goal time is like 9 minutes 18 seconds or something. But I remember one time I went flat through that corner and the rear end just went as I'm turning in, and obviously because it's a road car, no rear end at all. It just ended up feeling like Takumi Fujiwara going into the, what do you call that hairpin afterwards? What do you call that hairpin afterwards, John?
Arenberg, the
Arenberg,
right.
Yeah. So I nearly held it, John, but didn't work out. I really wish I recorded it as well, and part of me wishes thankful I didn't, because it was a bit of a moment as we move back to Adler now. I think he's still running on that. On his damage, I'd say, John. I don't think has he pitted. He must have. I don't think he pitted.
Yeah, I think he did for the wets, didn't he? He pitted for the wets, came out. I think he's probably had contact with the wall, looking at the state of the M6, shall we say. So he's more than likely going to be on wet tyres, and wet tyres on a drying track, we know in ACC isn't good. Not sure how AMS progress in this one, but I guess we're about to find out. Joe Dorber in chat just noticed that Andy Boardman could be potentially a year older than him. Therefore, Joe Dorber is now classed as young. So looking to the year in Andy Boardman's Steam name, I guess, there as Tim Ireland navigates through a Copa car coming through the middle half of the lap, should we say, at this point. This is around about the ex-Muller section going down to towards Brightside on this one. So Tim Ireland making some good progress there. Still a minute off the leader. Andy Boardman was catching the race leader quite alarmingly. However, that has now doubled out again as Tim Ireland finds another Copa car. They're almost like moving chicanes. It's kind of reminiscent back to the race room days when we ran RRVLN. I think we had some wacky classes there. We had GT3s mixed with like 90s DTMs and M235i Cups, the 235i Cup cars, especially when getting caught by a GT3. Very, very scary indeed. So I'm quite excited to see this circuit, of course, produce itself in ACC under the Kunos banner. Of course, ran numerous laps, like you say, Phil, in the original Assetto Corsa here at the Nordschleife in tourist servers. So yeah, very excited to get my teeth into that one, especially with the multi-class aspect that we do get in ACC. A man that we've not talked about a lot, Matthew Malcolm. He is in this race as well. Currently down in P15, mingling in with the GT4s there, just trying to get himself together. I'm assuming he's had some kind of drama or accident along the way.
You see the roof section on the back?
Yes.
A bit.
Yeah, the engine cover. Yeah,
that's an aero feature with that 720. Is it 720S? I think.
Yeah.
It's active aero, being told by Jesse Lee. It's not sure what it's supposed to be doing, flapping away like that. It seems
maybe
like
it's extended cooling for the engine.
Disturbing the air more than actually helping it, but yeah, I think it's just one of those things that just some people just need a bit of time to work on the sim. I think I saw Malcolm say he's getting used to the game or something like that. So yeah, I think it takes a while. I mean, we talk about ACC or AC1. Sorry, I remember taking ages to get used to some of those GT3 cars. I just felt really slow, and then the minute I moved to ACC, I was kind of okay at them. So I think it's just how you deal with it. I think it's just how you vary from game to game, sort of thing, or discipline to discipline as well. Like doing the WRC stuff. It's very surprising just how some people are quite, solid silver pace in ACC, and then they move on to WRC cars, and suddenly that different disciplines. Suddenly they're very, very competitive drivers, which is always good to see when people find their footing in a different discipline, John.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I mean, different disciplines. We're so used to seeing, ACC with GT3s, GT4s, TCXs, and a few challenge cars. Even in the ACC world, of course, with the different categories, it can net for some different race winners along the way. I mean, we've seen guys that do very well in GT3, not do so well in GT4, as Jesse Lee elects to watch one of the Copa cars at the moment trundle around, making race car noises in our ears. So this is definitely one of the weirdest broadcasts I think I've had at the moment. If you are looking to get involved with some different disciplines, as Phil says, we do have a wonderful world of events at the RCI website. Heading over to racerci.com. Recently announced sign-ups are open for this one. Another brand new iRacing event, the Daytona 2.4 hours. Treat this as a warm-up, of course, to the official Daytona 24, or as a bit of fun in between. We are aware of the official iRacing 6 hours happening on the day at Long Beach, so we have timed it. We have timed it to the session timers between the two, so you'll be able to do both Long Beach and the RCI 2.4 if you are interested in that one. We do have a few events running this week, although they are reaching their end. So again, if you do want to get in for some quick ACC action, Wednesday sees our team championship again. You can sign up a solo for this one. Head to their finale at Kyalami for their GT4 efforts. Porcelain Racing currently leading RRP from Luna Rossa Racing in Pro. Ground Zero Racing, lead RPMS Simsport and Dropping the Hammer Racing in Silver. Thursdays, we're bringing you another iRacing event. Seeing a pattern here with two iRacing events mentioned in the same broadcast. This time it's the Formula 3 at Donington Park. So again, another different discipline. So if you do want to get involved in that one, as Tim Ireland comes down the pit lane for his routine pit stop, we believe. Saturday this week, again, it took a break last week for Night Owls, not Night Owls finale, sorry, it was the World Tour finale last week. And again, this week we resume Night Owl. The final round again for this one takes them to Suzuka. Timothy Flamger leading Jordan Daly and Harry Conway in Pro. Meanwhile, it's George Barr and Adnan Pazina leading Kaneko in Silver. So plenty of events to get your teeth sunk into. Head on over to the website at racerci.com. And Phil, we don't often get you on the broadcast. Of course, it's been a while since we've worked together in the broadcast.
I'm stuck in the stewarding box a lot.
You are also stewarding, of course, but you are also the event manager for the WRC that we're running at the moment as well.
Yeah, we've recently we started doing WRC, EA WRC when the game came out. We currently are just dipping our toes just to see what works and what doesn't. So we're running 2 different clubs. There's Club 1, which has just got a weekend events. They run from Friday noon UK time to Wednesday UK time. This week we're running what Grim's called the Need for Speed event. So we're running late WRC era cars. So that's the VW Golf and the Ford Fiesta Mark 6. So that's from, I believe that's 2017 to 2021, that era of WRC. Running those around Corsica, which is a very, very fast tarmac rally. Not really a tarmac specialist myself. I feel like you need to be completely juiced up on Monster energy drinks or something like that. The amount of like work you have to do to get around those sort of type of rallies fast or quickly. Anyway, 80.2 kilometers of tarmac, and we're running the hardcore damage model for that particular event. So there's that one, and we've also run from Friday to Friday the championship event. So we've run a quick 3 round championship for in the junior WRC cars. So they're a bit low powered. They're still 4-wheel drive cars, but they're low powered 4-wheel drive Ford Fiestas. Coming into the final round, we're equal on points between Pete Ruotsalainen and Sebastian Thibault, both on 26 points, followed by Nicholas Nordquist on 19. Ruotsalainen won the first round in Estonia, which is a high-speed gravel sort of rally, and then Thibault won the Rally Croatia, another mountainous tarmac rally, where we had some fairly changeable conditions. I'd say there was a lot of what we've had today, dry tires running on a very wet track. So yeah. And this week, you can still enter late if you want, just to see how well you do. We're in Sweden for the final round of the championship, where midway through there is a forecast for a snowstorm. It's not particularly fun driving a high-speed snow section in fog, but yeah. So if you want to get involved in the rally stuff, there's plenty going on. There's always something going on the weekends. As I said, Friday to Wednesday with our weekly stuff. We change it up every week. There's never an event that's similar the week after. I don't know what this event coming up is. We usually decide what the next event is after the current one's over, so I can't really confirm because I don't know what we're doing next weekend. But yeah, championship, we'll probably run another longer championship in the new year. But yeah, it's been going pretty good at the minute. I think we average about between 10 to 15 drivers per rally. I think most of them don't really finish naturally because certainly a lot different to Dirt Rally 2 WRC, particularly because the longest section or stage in the previous one was about 12 kilometers long, and suddenly we jump up to like 30 kilometers per stage for the longest ones or something. So definitely a lot more to remember. Sort of like coming around here, John, you know, like there's a lot more to remember in around the Nordschleife than there is a typical racing track.
Yeah, certainly is. It's a big jump, like you say, Phil, from like 10 to 12 kilometer stages. Suddenly we're on like 30 kilometers at EAWRC, and it really catches some people out. And the rally's kind of almost become a rally of attrition rather than a rally of speed, because speed and consistency in a rally is kind of what you need. You don't need to be, rolling or spinning every other corner or finding your way off a cliff and being hard reset. So, it's going to be an interesting one coming. I think the EAWRC patch is out sometime next week. I believe we go up to version 1.4. The 14
4 teams. 14th, so
Yep.
it's out on Thursday. There's a number of bug fixes that I'm looking
That
forward
was this
to.
week, the 14th. Yeah, I've been reading down the patch log. I was going to mention, of course, the big topic, of course, with no service rallies being the fact that you can just leave and rejoin to fully reset your car. Of course, that is being fixed in the patch notes. I've already read that one. They are adding back in as well something exciting for those of you with multiple shifters. They are adding the sequential H pattern. As Tim Ireland hits the curb. We were speaking earlier about in the broadcast. Of course, keep off some of the curbs at the Nordschleife, and that is certainly one you do want to keep off as you begin your climb up to Kesselchen through Klostertal. The curbs up here can upset the car massively at the speed you're reaching, and precisely what happened there to Tim Ireland, but very well held to just lick the Armco essentially and carry on. This is, of course, against an AI. This is Holmes ahead in the McLaren, and Tim Ireland has a much straighter car than Holmes does, so hopefully this should be relatively easy for Tim Ireland. Of course, under 8 minutes to go now. I think the race leaders are more than likely around about finishing their lap, I would like to say, just beginning to get onto lap 7, which of course will be the final lap. Andy Borman catching the race leader. Of course, 8 seconds to the good now. That was about 20 seconds earlier on. But back to my original point about the 1.4 patch notes. They are adding back in the H pattern sequential mode. So you set it to auto gear selector, and then whichever car you drive denotes which gearbox method you have to use. Tim Ireland there finding it very hard to get around Holmes through the latter half of the lap, through of course the Wipperman and Eschbach section before coming into to Brunchen. It's a very tricky sector to get by. It's a fast flowing switchback nature. It's almost one line around here, so you do have to kind of play follow the leader at the Nordschleife for a lot of the lap before, of course, biding your time. If Tim stays close, of course, the Dottinger Her is coming up, and again, that could be a good place to pass, and if he does, he's then got to fend off the McLaren for the whole lap. Andy Boardman comes down the pit lane to take his mandatory stop, so I'm not sure if Negrau has already taken his. That's some good pace out of the AI.
He's going to do a Schumacher at Silverstone in '98.
Oh, imagine.
Because I think somebody did that in RCI once. Oh yeah, they did. Somebody did in Friday Champ at Imola. They pitted on the very last lap, and because their pit box is before the start finish straight or start finish line, they gained like a 30 seconds on everyone else or something like that. Hence why we have like pit windows in RCI now, to stop people doing that.
That's cheeky. Jesse Lee speculating that the top two AI may not have pitted, but Adler, we know he has pitted, and he's now gone up into P3 just ahead there of Tim Ireland. The front end of that M6 smashed in royally as they go through the Yokohama S's, neighbouring some damage, I would say, from the mixed wet dry phase that we had halfway through this race. Andy Boardman there in the background, so it's going to become a last lap kind of shootout, I would say, between Boardman and Adler. That's what we're going to be probably spending most of our time watching. It's about what's that, about
7 seconds.
7 seconds or so. Yeah. Thank you for the quick maths there, Phil. My brain is struggling to compute after all this madness. But Negrau at the front of the field. Don't know how we're going to interview Negrau. We're going to have to maybe do a chat GPT.
But chat GPT, then voice to then text to speech.
Text to voice. Possibly.
Yeah, so it sounds like one of those stupid F1 memes back in the day or something like that.
Yes, I know what you mean.
What voice do you want to give him, John?
Maybe the generic TikTok like female voice. That you know, when it's like, oh, you won't believe this cleaning life hack that I discovered, and then they show you it. Maybe we can do that with ChatGPT afterwards and see what happens. Matthew Malcolm saying in our chat, car had terminal damage, so had to retire, but it's really fun and challenging. So Matthew Malcolm impressed with AMS2 so far. Maybe in the off season, Tim Ireland might be inspired to try and rope a few more of you into these events. But I think the first one for the cast anyway, Phil, for us up here in the booth with Jesse, it's probably been one of the more relaxed, I would say, casts that we've had. One of the more kind of fun casts, and certainly had Jesse very hypo at moments, should we say?
He's very hyper when his microphone's not on. I've noticed, but and in the steward's box as well, when he's behind what do you call it? When the microphone's hot, he's a lot more polite than when he is when you can't be hearing. But Jesse Lee,
I don't think I can report We can't report what Jesse just said to us in our ears. There was a cursive in there. I think he's feeling a bit attacked at the moment. Do we have a HR department at RCI? Because I feel Jesse. I feel Jesse's on his way.
HR department.
Yeah, Jesse Lee's on his way to HR. He's stormed out. He's had enough here. He's had enough of our antics up here in the box, Phil. But Andy Boardman, of course, is trying to catch Adler. I think he's what, about 6 seconds
now. 4 seconds.
4 seconds. My maths is terrible today. So Boardman definitely closing in on Adler, and it's a long old lap, Phil. You know, we say 4 seconds. 4 seconds at Brands Hatch. That's a lot of time to gain. 4 seconds at the Nürburgring. That's not such a massive ask, is it, from Andy Boardman?
No, I think we mentioned it I briefly alluded to it during the qualifying. Like, we saw some of the gaps to pole time, like, 9 seconds, 12 seconds. Oh, that's a massive gap. And then, well, I think what you should be doing probably is, like, for want of a better word, like dividing that number by 10. So, as you say, like, Brands Hatch 7 seconds. But I guess another way to look at it is like, it's the equivalent of being 7 tenths behind someone around Brands Hatch or something like that. It's a, you'd say 7 tenths around Brands in the lap. That's a fair. That's not a lot of time to gain by comparison. So yeah. But Andy Boardman now, I think the gap's come down to about 3.5 seconds now. So he's definitely catching him as the track dries, and you gain a lot more confidence in the car and the wheels underneath you as well. I'm not really sure if AMS simulates what do you call it? The as your wheels as your tires, go from a wet track back to a dry track. Do the wheels have to shake off whatever moisture's on the surface of it, so you don't get the same grip initially as you come up to a dry section on the track? And he's just gone into the barrier again, I think, unless the game's acting a bit weird. I think the game's acting a bit odd with us. Yeah, something's happened to Boardman, and
he's in the background again.
Game's been. Oh, there he is. So it's all just AMS just doing AMS things. That's fine.
Maybe it's like when Stewie briefly loses connection in the team races and he floats off into the abyss and then comes back very suddenly. But certainly some connection issues, I would say, for Andy Boardman. Looks like everybody else is relatively fine, but Boardman has disappeared from the board. 30 seconds to go on the clock. That's horrific to see. We don't want to see any kind of hardware issues plague people, but unfortunately they do. So I can only assume a connection drop there from Andy Boardman. Such a shame after 59 minutes and 40 seconds of racing to be booted out just before the checker flag drops. So Adler is safe. All he's really got to do now is focus on Lloyd. Can he get past Lloyd, of course, being an AI car ahead in the Porsche? We speculate, of course, the top two haven't pitted in the race unless we have just missed it. It does sound a little bit weird that the AI would miss such a rule set, but again, who knows? Maybe, like Phil says, they're doing something similar to what happened in Friday Champ. Maybe they're going to pit on the last lap and Adler's going to go sailing through to take the victory. Tim Ireland is your next human on the road, should we say, down in P5, and then Les Stevenson is the next human after that, down in P8. As you can see, a battered front end on Les's car again, so he's definitely been in the wars. The trunk, should we say, of the Porsche, of course, it's not a hood. The hood will be at the back of the car covering the engine in this one. I've set Jesse Lee off again. I think he's going to storm off the HR, but it technically would be a trunk.
It's definitely the hood. It's definitely
it would be the trunk, though, because you put luggage in there.
The boot. It's the boot.
But the luggage goes in there, Phil. That's the trunk.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's called the boot. That's where you put your luggage in. You put your luggage in the boot.
This broadcast is severely
derailed. The trunk. We're not Americans. We're British. Call it the boot.
True. That is the boot. I'll agree. I love Jesse Lee in our ears at the moment. We have to keep pausing to listen to him, breaking up the broadcast a little bit. But this has been probably one of the least serious broadcasts I would say I've ever done in my time. But it's been great fun nonetheless. All professionalism has kind of gone out the window at this point with all the AI and the human antics going on at the moment. Adler probably going to be trying to slipstream down the Dottinger Her if he can stay close to Lloyd's Porsche. Of course, the checker flag is out. Time remaining has hit 0. has cleared off your screen. So we're currently at the Stefan Beloff S before Schwalbenschwanz section coming up now. And Lloyd's gone wide, although he's kept it on the tarmac there. That could have been a scary thing. He's already lost it at this section once, and now into the mini carousel with a couple of more corners to go. Adler is looking very close indeed to Lloyd, and he's almost got it around the outside. He's going to try the outside into Galgenkopf. Is this possible? He has got the overlap, the grunt of the M6 pulling him up the hill. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, can't believe I'm saying this, but Negral will come through to take your race victory. The inaugural AMS2 event is won by an AI GT3 car. Humans could not match him today. Very unfortunate indeed. Race has completed, 820 seconds on the clock, and you can already see Adler trying to break up the slipstream on the AI Porsche behind, and the Porsche is having none of it, staying far to the right hand side. Not going to pull the snake of the train on this one. Of course, this was a pure test for AMS2 with us, but Lloyd's coming back into Tiergarten, and he's hustling the back of Adler. This is going to go right down to the line. Adler's going to have to fend off this Porsche for a few more corners. Through the Tiergarten section they go, through Hohenrhein, back onto the GP circuit, and all is good. We do have a human on the podium at least here, but AMS2, this has been a pure test event for us here at RCI. Tim Ireland, of course, winding down the Ginetta Championship, saw it as a chance to dip his toe in maybe another sim. Of course, we've already done ACC, we've done iRacing, we've of course done EAWRC, and now we've done AMS2 as well. So the only other sim really to tick off that's still relevant, should we say, in the world is maybe Race Room or Assetto Corsa, the first one. But of course, Assetto Corsa 2 on the horizon. Who knows what we will do there. Tim Ireland is your next human on the road, should we say. A flash of the lights there from Tim as he comes past the Touristenfahrten pits towards, of course, the famous Bilstein Bridge, which I'm not sure is even a Bilstein Bridge in this game. Of course, castle in the right-hand side of the screen there, and some very looking relics of vehicles in the tourist pits. Under the bridge he goes, down towards Tiergarten. Of course, a big compression there, up the other side, flicks it left, flicks it right, stands on the brakes very hard indeed for the Hohenrhein section. And Tim Ireland will come through in P5 overall. He's just got to get out of the corner one last time through the GP cut through into the white advertising bridge, which is probably the worst camera in history. Then we have a nice shot on the fence before Tim Ireland finally gets to the line in the Porsche. A flash of the lights there, well driven from him. And the next and possibly last AI, Les Stevenson. He's just pushed the Ginetta off the road. That's very unsportsmanlike of you, Les Stevenson. He's just spent all of his time in the Ginettas and now taking his frustration out on one, Phil.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we always talk about, like, pass the GT4s nicely, and it didn't look nice to me. But, yes, he comes round, I think he's coming up to the... Oh, yeah, he's on the main straight now, he's on the back straight. It's difficult to tell from these camera angles sometimes where they are. And, I think we're probably going to be watching Les just come round the last couple of corners now, John, after this long straight. I remember when you come down here, it just feels like forever sometimes, this straight. I mean, how long is this straight, John? It's probably not FIA, what do you call it, FIA compliant, how long this back straight is towards the final.
The FIA's got quite a lot of...
Is it grandfather? Is it grandfather, so they're allowed to keep it?
It's got quite a lot of FIA circuits, quite a few long straights, haven't they? So who knows? Maybe it's longer than we think. I think it could just be about 2 kilometers or so. I could be wrong. This is being measured by somebody.
I mean, Paul Ricard's length is Paul Ricard's straight is 2 kilometers long from memory, and that feels longer than Paul Ricard's straight.
There's not too many facts on Google about the length. But yeah, of course, as Les Stevenson crosses the line, that will be the end officially for the humans, shall we say, on this event. Horst Adler is your highest place finisher in P2, being beaten by being beaten by one AI, shall we say, on that one. Then Lloyd and Berg, and then we've got Tim Ireland down in P5. He was your next human on the road before, of course, we get to Les Stevenson down in P8 overall. Of course, total time being 1 hour and 5 minutes. Then we got a few retirements at the bottom, of course. Malcolm Hauser and Cormac Malloy, very unfortunate, retired. Of course, Andy Boardman, not on the timing board at the end here. He did suffer from a connection problem, very unfortunate indeed, with about 20 seconds to go, but fairly fought all the way up until then. It's been a fantastic broadcast tonight, Phil. It's been crazy at times. We've had Jesse Lee getting a bit hyperactive in our ears. I'm pretty sure he's off with HR somewhere, lodging a complaint about us too. So we might not be here next week, but who knows on that one. But yeah, it's been fantastic nonetheless. I mean, dipping our toe into a new sim, it's always going to be a learning curve for us all. But yeah, AMS2 looks quite fun. It might even tempt me to. I've got it downloaded. I've never played it. I never fired it up. I've never.
Well, it's just sitting in your drive right now.
It's
the fate of every Steam game you buy.
Yes, just sat in the library, never played.
but yeah, it's a bit sad to see the machines have won today, John.
Yep. ChatGPT has prevailed, unfortunately.
But I found it very suspicious that Andy Boardman was doing well, and then he had a computer issue. So I'm going to say that's very suspicious, and just very coincidental. Very coincidental, as Jesse's reminding us. Do you have 2 more broadcasts to cover before the end of the year? At least 2 scheduled ones. I'm not sure if we're doing any more, but Jesse's probably going to hold my ear if I suggest there's any more. But yeah, there's Wednesday Champ. I think John's already alluded to Wednesday Champ and Night Owl, so that's Wednesday night at about 7:45 UK time, and then Night Owl starting at about 10:45 UK time. So yeah, both season finales for them coming up. I've forgotten where we are for. I think we're at Suzuka for Night Owl. I've forgotten where we are for Wednesday Champ, John.
Yeah, so we're Suzuka for Night Owl, bang on the money there, Phil. Then Wednesday, we're heading to Kyalami, South Africa, for the finale of the Team Champ. Of course, Porcelain Racing leading RRP from Luna Rossa Racing in Pro. Ground Zero Racing, RPMS Simsport leading, dropping the hammer in silver. And as you alluded to there, Phil, of course, Saturday Night Owl resumes this week at Suzuka. Timothy Flamger leading Jordan Daly and Harry Conway in Pro, while George Barr and Adnan Pazina leading Kaneko in silver. And then, of course, we do, in the middle of those 2 events, have an event on Thursday. That's in iRacing. We're heading to Donington Park for Formula 3. That's for a 45-minute sprint race, and sign-ups are still open for that one. So if you're interested, get your name down. As we touched on in the broadcast earlier as well, another brand new iRacing event has opened up as of, I think it went live on Saturday while we were live with World Tour. The Daytona 2.4 hours. Treat this as a warm-up to the official iRacing Daytona 24, or just as a bit of fun. We're well aware of the official iRacing 6 hours happening at Long Beach on the same weekend, so we slotted this one in the afternoon to finish just over an hour before the 1800 UTC race. So if you do want to compete in both, you still can on that one, not a problem at all. Of course, a big thank you to everyone at home that has joined us on this very wild broadcast, let's say, tonight, as we've learnt the ropes of AMS2 and all that it can give. It's got some fantastic weather simulation in it, I must say so, from witnessing it. And of course, a big thank you to Ash Bibby for the £2 earlier for the weirdest stream that he's ever watched. And believe you and me, he's watched quite a few here in his short time at RCI. And of course, a big thank you to our partners as well. They've been cycling around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. AK Esports, of course, for providing our fantastic server solutions here at RCI, but also organising, of course, official races with the SRO Motorsports Group, Delara, and of course the official Porsche Esports Championship a few years ago. Driver61.com. Of course, you can get 25% off your driver coaching by using our discount code. Find the link in the description below. Head on over there. And of course, they have numerous courses from one-on-one coaching to full driving kind of courses and coaching. Be sure to check them out. Fanatec, again, need no introduction. I say this every time. Everybody who's watching this knows exactly who Fanatec are, what they do, and what they have to offer. Of course, the Quick Release 2, the latest product on the market. I believe a few of the direct drive bundles are back in stock. I think they've come down in price maybe as well. Don't quote me on that, though. But there is an affiliate link down below if you are looking to pick up any hardware over the holiday season for you or your loved one. And, of course, 2 new partners for 2023, digitalmotorsports.com offers obviously a number of products and services from virtual driving experiences, corporate events, SimRig components, and even complete SimRig solutions. Founded in 2018 by 2 enthusiastic motorsports fans, they had a vision to create Ireland's leading digital motorsport environment and resource. Visit the link down below and check out their offerings. And lastly, but no means least, of course, Go Setups, formed to be one of the premium esports setup stores for ACC. Their primary aim, of course, to create setups for all skill levels, whether you're esports ready or just looking for a safer alternative for your car. Featuring a plethora of esports stars, you can be sure the setup you choose has extensive hours behind it. And most recently out today is, of course, a full update for the LFM BOP series that are running this week at specific tracks. So get your pulls on them if you are struggling. Weight reduction and weight added setups as well. Of course, various BOPs with their custom file that they do run in their events. But I think we have touched on just about everything tonight. It's been a fantastic stream, of course, from the beginning till the end. It's been action-packed, even watching humans race AI. I, for one, probably can't wait to get back to AMS2 and see some more chaos unfolding very soon. Of course, as Phil mentioned earlier, we are live on RCI TV on Wednesday, bringing you the final of the Team Champ, and again on Saturday with the Night Owl finale. So stay tuned on that one. So from myself, John Dalton, from Phil Roberts alongside me, and from Jesse Lee behind the cameras, we thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and we hope to see you another time here on RCI TV. Take care.